you didn't mean to disappear. You told yourself you'd reply later. You kept checking the message, thinking, I need to say something. But days passed. Then weeks. And now, it's just silence. You weren't trying to be cruel. You actually liked them. Maybe even cared about them more than you expected. But still, you ghosted them. And maybe you're wondering, why do I do this? What's wrong with me? Why do I disappear when things feel real? If you've ever ghosted someone, not out of malice, but out of fear, this video is for you. Because today, we're going deep into 7 uncomfortable but honest truths about why you ghost people, even when you care. This isn't about shaming. It's about understanding. And maybe, if you're willing to be honest with yourself, it's about healing the part of you that learned to run. Let's begin. Truth number 1, you fear being fully seen. There's a moment, usually small, where the connection starts to get real. Maybe they ask a personal question. Maybe they get a little too close emotionally. Maybe you feel seen in a way that makes you panic. And suddenly, your instincts tell you to disappear. Why? Because being fully seen feels vulnerable. And vulnerability has never felt safe. Somewhere along the way, you learned that letting people see the real you leads to rejection, judgment, abandonment. So instead of risking that pain again, you disappear first. Ghosting becomes protection. Not from them, but from your own fear of being known. But here's the hard truth. You can't build intimacy while hiding. You can't be loved for who you are if you never let anyone see you. Truth number 2, you struggle with emotional regulation. Maybe the connection was too intense. Maybe you got overwhelmed. Maybe something they said triggered something in you, and you didn't know how to handle it. So instead of responding, you shut down. You tell yourself, I need space. I'll deal with it later. They'll understand. But later never comes. Because emotional overwhelm turns into emotional avoidance. This isn't about not caring. It's about not having the tools to navigate what you feel. You were never taught how to stay present in discomfort, how to sit with hard emotions, how to communicate when you're triggered. So you disappear, not because you're heartless, but because you feel helpless. But running from emotion doesn't make it go away. It just leaves someone else holding the confusion you couldn't handle. Truth number 3, you don't trust that you're ready. Things were going well. Too well. They liked you. They respected you. You felt safe. Seen. Wanted. And then, the panic set in. You thought, I'm not ready for this. What if I mess it up? I can't give them what they need. So instead of being honest about that, you ghosted. Because disappearing felt easier than confronting the gap between what you want and what you think you're ready for. This is often rooted in imposter syndrome, not professionally, but emotionally. You think, they'll see the real me eventually. I'll disappoint them. I'm not relationship material. So you sabotage. Not because you don't care, but because you don't believe you can sustain what you found. And until you challenge those beliefs, you'll keep ghosting anything that feels too good. Truth number 4, you're still carrying unhealed relationship wounds. Someone hurt you. Someone lied. Cheated. Left. Someone made you question your worth. And even though time has passed, you're still holding that wound. So when someone new shows up, kind, genuine, available, you expect the same ending. You project the past onto the present. And instead of risking another heartbreak, you choose silence. Ghosting becomes a way to control the narrative. If you leave first, they can't leave you. If you say nothing, they can't reject you. But here's the catch. You're punishing someone new for someone else's mistakes. And in doing so, you rob yourself of the love you say you want. Healing doesn't mean trusting blindly. But it does mean giving people a chance to show you something different. Ghosting may feel like safety. But real safety comes from discernment, not disappearance. Truth number 5, you've learned to disconnect quickly. This one runs deep. If you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, where people came and went, where you had to detach to survive, then leaving becomes second nature. You learned not to get too attached. A closeness is temporary. That love isn't dependable. So now, even as an adult, your nervous system still runs that old script. When things get close, you feel trapped. When someone invests in you, you feel pressured. When they start to matter, you ghost. Because disconnection feels safer than intimacy. This isn't about cruelty, it's about conditioning. You ghost because you've been wired to believe that love isn't something you keep. It's something you protect yourself from. But that wiring can change. And awareness is the first step. Truth number 6. You don't know how to end things honestly. Sometimes, ghosting isn't about fear or trauma. It's about discomfort. You lose interest. You realize the connection isn't right. You don't see a future. But instead of communicating that, you vanish. Why? Because saying, "This isn't working for me," feels awkward. Because you don't want to hurt their feelings. Because you're afraid of confrontation. So you leave without a word, convincing yourself it's kinder that way. But here's the truth. Silence is not kindness. Closure matters. Even a simple, "Hey, I don't think we're a match, but I wish you well," is better than disappearing. You ghost not because you're cruel, but because you were never taught how to end things with integrity. But emotional maturity means learning to communicate, even when it's uncomfortable. Ghosting may spare you a 5-minute awkward text, but it leaves the other person with a wound they'll carry far longer. Truth number 7. You're still learning how to receive love. At the heart of it all, many people ghost because they don't know how to receive love. You crave it. You search for it. But when it finally shows up, consistent, real, uncomplicated, something inside you recoils. You think, what's their angle? They must want something. It can't be this easy. Because love, to you, has always felt like effort. Like pain. Like proving. So when it comes gently, without drama, it doesn't feel real. You ghost not because you don't care, but because you don't yet know how to be loved without earning it. And that's okay. Awareness is everything. You're not broken. You're just protecting a part of yourself that never learned how to stay. But you can learn. You can unlearn. You can choose differently, next time. Closing thoughts. So, why do you ghost people even when you care? It's not because you're heartless. It's not because you're selfish. It's not because you're incapable of love. It's because you've been hurt. Because love feels complicated. Because no one taught you how to stay when things get real. But staying emotionally, vulnerably, honestly is a skill. One you can build. And if you're someone who ghosts to protect yourself, the real healing begins when you ask, what am I afraid they'll see if I stay? What story am I telling myself about love? What would it mean to stop running? You're not a villain. You're just someone still figuring it out. And you can learn how to show up differently. How to communicate. How to stay present, even when it's hard. The next time you feel the urge to disappear, pause. Breathe. Say something. Anything. Because healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it starts with one honest message, sent instead of deleted. Have you ever ghosted someone you actually cared about? Which of these 7 truths hit home the most? Drop a comment below. You might help someone else feel less alone in their pattern. If this video gave you clarity, share it with someone who's trying to understand themselves better. And if you're ready to build healthier love from awareness, not avoidance, subscribe. We're showing up now. Together.